Welcome back to the Big Turbo B8 build series. It has been a while, and I know a lot of you guys have been wondering, what are some updates on the build? Well, I'm here to tell you, and I've been wondering the same myself. But, at the end of the last episode, I said, it's winter, and I live in Wisconsin, so it's cold. I don't have a heater in my garage yet, so it's not ideal for working on a car. Plus, this was really expensive. So I gotta wait a little bit before I do any more big things to the car. I'll be back once it's a little warmer out and once I've recouped some of my losses on the car. But I guess a lot of people must have thought that I had said, it's not winter and I don't live in Wisconsin, so it's not cold. I have a heater in my garage, so it's ideal for working on a car. Plus, this was really not expensive. So I'll be back in a couple of days with a lot of money and horsepower numbers. In all seriousness, I do appreciate all of the support that I've gotten in the last few months. I've never really had a series that everybody's like, where's the next episode? What's coming up next? Come on, let's see the next one. And I am really grateful. Seriously, thank you for all of the overwhelming positive feedback. Aside from, the few very secure individuals who talking about how I'm bought this car because I'm too poor to buy an S4, and that's true. But, I'm back, I'm ready to work, and, I'm excited to be back. This is probably my favorite thing to do, is this build series. So in this episode, we'll be basically just kind of buttoning things up that I didn't get to finish at the end of last season and kind of left over winter. So I'm sorry to disappoint that means no dyno runs, no horsepower numbers, but I promise you that'll be soon. But for this episode, basically just getting the car 100% set to go, ready for the road, and ready for what I have for this season. And to start out, a much overdue task, I'm putting my hood back on. To start out, I'm finally fixing my hood latch and getting my hood back on, which is a relatively involved process. Alright, so after further exploration, I think I finally figured out what exactly went wrong with the hood. Back that was 7 months ago now. So you can see on the old latch, this should be connected to something. So there's a little hook in there that it should be attached to. More importantly, on this one, there's a little safety clip thing that holds that in, but if you look on the stock one, that's not there. So either I think maybe it broke off, or this is a revised version because that's a problem that people have. Yeah, so now I'm just gonna switch all this stuff over. Gonna kind of triple, quadruple check that I did this right, because I don't want to have to cut off another hood latch. That would suck. So after hooking the cable up on the new release mechanism, I can bolt everything back up. I was initially concerned I had stretched the original release cable trying to get the hood open in the first place, so I ordered a new one just to be safe. But to my delight, I found out I only needed to replace the release and the latch on the hood. So I came out with extra parts, but it could be worse. Now, with the help of my beautiful assistant, I can put my hood back on and make this thing look like a complete car again.
Give it to me.
Over the winter, I've accumulated a handful of parts for the car, including a new downpipe, fresh off of eBay, all new O2 sensors, as well as an Innovate wideband O2 sensor and boost gauge. The reason for the new downpipe is so I could weld in a new O2 bung for the wideband, and actually one of the bungs on the old downpipe was stripped from a mistake in the past. So I figured it's more cost effective to get a replacement rather than mess with the old one. And with the help of my good friend Rusty and his dad Carl, I can now screw in a third O2 sensor. Now it's just a matter of opening the hood back up, that'll never get old, and replacing the old crusty downpipe. No nice. That completed, it's now time to address the most difficult part of this episode, running wiring for my new gauges. Most cars I've owned before this had plenty of options for routing something through the firewall, but not this one. After lots of exploration and Googling, I finally found a path through the ECU cradle. Then it's time for the even more frustrating task of actually wiring up the gauges and finding a place for them. Oh yeah, I also got a Pro Sport oil pressure gauge because, well, don't want history to repeat itself, do I? I ran a T-fitting off of the oil filter housing to attach the pressure sender, and ran the wires through the same spot in the firewall. And to mount the gauges in the car, I'm fabbing up a cheap bezel out of PVC to go in the front of the shifter. And when I say cheap, I mean cheap. Alright, so here's the piece. I would give it a solid 1.5 out of 10. Turns out, my PVC fab skills with no actual measurements and my painting skills with no prep work aren't phenomenal. So I basically did like 1,000 layers of Plasti Dip, did a layer of like bed liner, and I think that was the big mistake right there. Because I thought that, because I put that on my front bumper behind my grill and it doesn't look bad, but I guess that's on a big crash bar, not a little piece of this. So then I put more Plasti Dip on it, more Plasti Dip, and then paint, and yeah. So I'll probably redo this in the future off camera, but for now I want to at least pretty up the interior a little bit. Yeah, not fantastic. In all honesty, the back looks better than the front. And this was actually going to be the front of it, and then I decided, well, no, this looks better, but maybe I'll try this side, because that has just like one coat of Plasti Dip on it, and that's it. And it actually, that might be the move. I'm gonna try a few things, but yeah. So one thing that sucks about doing this after I got everything done in the interior is that this wideband boost gauge, it doesn't have things that, it doesn't have plugs in the back like the Pro Sport one does. So I had to disconnect everything and pull it back through after I had finished that up. So I really should have done a different order of operations with this. But it's not so bad. I mean, build quality of this is way better than Pro Sport. If you haven't noticed, I hate doing interior work. Anything that has to do with the dashboard or stuff like that, I'm trying to keep my mood positive, but man, do I dislike doing this stuff. So, Yeah, I think I'll go back to this original plan. I'm putting it like that. Because that looks a lot better. That hides the stuff a little bit more. And I think the gauges will probably hold it in place pretty well. If not, I'm going to utilize some double-sided tape. Just up here and down here. If you're like me, anything dealing with wiring is anxiety-provoking. So I'll keep this part on time-lapse and make it short. Even though fitting the gauges, routing the wiring, and finding accessory sources took an exceptional amount of time. But in the end, I'd say it came out looking okay. It'll pass for now. And with the help of a couple of fuse taps, we are in business. So, that's done, and the last thing I have to do to get this card, like, drivable for the summer before I put more modifications on it is get an alignment. And my go-to local spot for that kind of work is Apex in Madison, Wisconsin. I've always had great service there, and the owner, Bobby, isn't afraid to deal with lowered cars or tire stretching. Plus, he and his employee were cool with me filming the process, so that's always a plus. So if you're in the area and need really any sort of work done to your car, not just alignments or tire mounting, but basically any mechanical work, give them a call. So, with the car finally aligned for the first time in 4 years, yeah, it's a little late, it's truly ready for the road. Which also means, yes, finally, it's ready for some dyno runs. But that'll have to wait for a future episode. See you next time.